Hi, I'm Marla Niederer from Orsinis Angels, and what I want to share with you today is how I'm using a vintage photo that I found on Wikipedia on the internet of an angel, and I'm using it as a reference for a piece of artwork. And I'm not going to try to capture her identically, but I'm just using it as a reference point. So what I'm going to start out with in this video is a pencil sketch. And in the next video, I'll add color to it. And then I have a couple of other ideas for using this as a project, but I want to show you my process so that you're able to do it also. So I have a variety of different pencils and erasers, and I also have a blending stick. So this is my blending stick. It's kind of sad. So I have another one too that's in a little better shape, and this is just I use this Tombow and eraser, and just because it can get into little tiny places, it's not necessary, but I have it so I use it. And then I do like the white erasers. I don't really use this purple one much, but it's in my little eraser bowl, so I figured I'd just leave it there. And what I do use is mechanical pencils, but you don't have to. If you don't have them, you can just use a regular pencil. And this one is a small lead, and I believe it's a 3mm, and this one is a 9mm, and this I have no idea where I got it from or how large the lead is, but it's a larger size lead. So what I'm going to start out with is I have a scrap piece of paper. This is a watercolor paper, and it is hot press, so it's very smooth, and I often use that with pen and ink, and I'm not sure where I'm going with this, so I'm just going to use it. I had it all ready, and so I'm just going to start out by just drawing a line, and I do have it taped down with painter's masking tape to a rigid board. And that's because once I add any sort of water media, the paper will buckle. So this will help flatten it out once it's dry. And typically I don't leave my paintings just with pencil. So I do typically use watercolors in my designs. So I'm just going to start out with the lighter pencil, and what I want to do is place where I'm going to have everything. So the focal of this is going to be the face, so I'm just going to kind of rough out the head. And that's going to be the predominant part of this picture. And I might move it. Well, actually I think I'm going to leave it. And then there's a little bit of shoulder, neck and shoulder. And I'm just going to sketch that in, and this might change. So I'm trying to work very light, but I kind of want to get an idea of where it is in the frame of the picture that I'm using. Now she has like almost a sideways look, like a 3/4 almost, but not quite. You know, her face is not flat facing you, so it's kind of turned slightly. And what I usually do is another thing I do use is a little ruler. And this is used more for sewing, but I tend to use it also because I do measure. And usually I put a center line And I think my center line's a little tilted, so I'm going to erase that. And then I determine where the nose is. So I put a line there. And then I determine where the center of the mouth is. And I'll put a line there. And this helps me figure out where everything should be. And then, since it's a child, the eye line is usually close to or at the center of the head. Okay. And what I start out with is I'm going to give a little shape to the nose. And give a little bit of eyebrow area. And then I'm going to put another line for the other side. And what I might do is actually look the distance between her eyes on the photo is the same distance from the inner and outer corner of the eye, and that's very typical. So I need to figure out exactly where the part of the end shading side of the nose is to show exactly where the eyes begin. So it would be there. I'm going to put a little dot, and the other one would be here. So I'm going to put another dot there. So this will be the inner corner, and that would be the outer corner. And for the nose, I'm going to put a little triangle here. And then for the mouth, I'm going to put a little dot where I go from the center of the eye and I bring it down. And that's usually where the end of the mouth. And I might give her a little bit of more chin. And then I'm going to draw the upper lid, or the top of her eye on that side, and the same thing on this side. And then I'm gonna, her irises of her eye are looking directly at you, even though her face is tilted to the side. This almost looks a little bigger, which is why I measure, and it is. So I'm going to erase that a little bit. And then I'm going to just kind of estimate the eyes where they are and how big they are. And I'm going to try to keep it even on the other side. And I'm just kind of shaping the eye, that line. And so And it looks like the light is coming from this way. So I'm going to put the pupils like that. So that there'll be a little light over there. And then I'm going to put a light eyelid, an upper eyelid. And I'm not in love with the expression in the photo, so I'm going to change that out a little bit. And kind of give the nostrils of the nose. This is just below the flare of the nose. And then this is the center of the mouth. But I want her a little happier than in the photo. So I'm going to give her her upper lip. And I'm making it a little fuller than in the photo. And then I'm going to go for her little lower lip. And then I'm going to focus on the shape of her face. And then I'm going to put her ears, and they kind of go, the bottom starts here, and then it's kind of covered by her hair. Okay. And then I'm going to just kind of erase some of the parts that I don't want. And that's the guidelines that I used. And then here I'm noticing that her shoulder is a little raised, right here. And then there it's a little lower. There's a lot of kind of billowy, so this will be more with the watercolors that I will try, kind of like a billowy technique. And erase her shoulder there. Okay. Now, once you use the watercolors, whatever pencil marks you have are kind of set. And I don't know why that is, but it seems like the water kind of sets the pencil lines and you're not able to erase them. So if there's any lines you don't like before you start using any kind of water media over, unless you use an acrylics that can go over anything, I would erase. So I don't really like her hair, but I like parts of it. I don't like the top. So she has, you know, I like the curls, but I don't know what they're doing here. So I'm just gonna kind of do something like it, but a little different. And again, I'm still using the thin pencil. If you just have a regular pencil, that's okay. But I just find it easier, and I do have it, so I'm using that. And I'm just kind of putting where her curls are. And then erasing. And then I'm going to, she has kind of like a curl that goes over her ear, and I kind of like that. And then it just seems like it's kind of flowing this way, so and just erasing. And then there's, you know, the rest of her part is kind of going here. And I think I'm going to give her a little more fullness there. Not sure I'm liking that so much. I might give a little bit here. There. And in the picture she has some wings, so I'm not going to be able to get the full effect of the wings, but maybe in the background you'll see a hint to the wings. So now what I'm going to do is start shading a little bit, and I'm going to put a little bit underneath her eye on both sides. And a little bit under her ear. And this is the darker side of her face. So I'm just kind of lightly shading. You can see there's quite a bit of shadow. Well, you might not be able to, but from what I'm seeing in the picture, there's quite a bit of shadow here. And then by her nose. And there's a little bit here, and the base of her nose. And then under her eye. And then the light seems to hit right there. And then on the other side, there's a little bit of shading right here. Okay, so I'm shading a little bit here, and then that seems to, the shadow goes up here and joins where her hair is, and under there. And there's a little shading on the outside of her eye, and it goes to her ear. And then there's, you know, under her eye, there's some shading here. And I'm just going very lightly. And then there's some shading on the side of her face. And I'm going under her lip. And then there's some light shading here. And then there's some shading here. And then there's quite a bit of shadow on her shoulder, under her head. And then there's a little bit here. And just a little bit here. And then what I do is I take my blending stick and I go in. And I just kind of smooth out the pencil marks because they were kind of scratchy, and I want to go for a soft look. So I'm just kind of taking the blending stick, and it's just a regular pencil that I used, regular lead, and just kind of blending it with the stick. Now when you're using this technique with pencil, smooth paper also helps. You could do this on a cold press watercolor, but you're not going to get the same exact effect that I'm getting here. And then I'm shading the upper lips. And I might just go over to soften it a little bit with my eraser. And then I'm going to go back in and add a little detail. Now I'm going to kind of start working on her hair. And I'm kind of giving trying to make the hair look shiny and glistening by doing this. And this is aggravating my hand. So I'm going to start using my non-dominant hand to give my dominant hand a little rest. Now, when you're working with pencil, it's easy to smudge it if you put your hand around it, so I'm trying to avoid that. And then I'm going to use my blending stick again. And then I'm going to add a little to the wings. And then instead of doing any shading, I'm just going to use what's on my blender to do a little hint of that billowy. Without adding too much darkness. And I think I'm gonna kind of pick up a little on that. And to me, it doesn't look quite finished, so I think I need to add a little bit more and go in with a larger pencil. And just to add a little bit more depth. And then go in with my shading stick. And since I haven't been looking at it tilted, I'm seeing that the shape of the face is out of proportion. So I'm going to adjust that. If I had it tilted, I would say that the shape of the face should go more like this. So I'm going to erase that line here. And then shade. See if I can fix it by shading. Typically it's easier if you're sketching to tilt your picture up. And another way of doing it to kind of see, because sometimes you get pretty engrossed in your sketch and you don't really see it as it is to take a photo with your camera and then look at it, and for some reason that helps you see the flaws so that you can correct them before you go to the next step. And I'm not aiming for perfection, but I'm just aiming for preciousness and pleasing. So the more symmetrical a face is, the more pleasing it becomes. And that's just, even when you look at other people's faces. But not everybody is totally symmetrical, so that gives interest too. So I think I will leave it at that stage for today, and I hope you enjoyed my video. And if you want to see the rest of the project, I will be uploading videos on my Orsini's Angels YouTube, and I will add what I do when I complete this. So I didn't want to make it so big that it's difficult to watch. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a creative day today. Thank you for watching my video. Bye now.